Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special Survivor edition of the Tatiana Show. I'm joined today with my good friend Josh from Voltoro, of course. Hey, Josh, how's it going?
G'day, g'day. Yeah, it's a great guest today. I'm very excited.
Yes, and my good friend Roman Zrazhevskiy. Yes, um,
Yes,
who is
you pronounced it correctly.
I know, thank you. I feel like I get some sort of a survival prize. I get to live another day. Um, So
That's
the
good.
reason why I thought that Roman would be a great guest is number one, he's a super cool guy. I know him through the Ron Paul movement, and he's also a Bitcoin enthusiast. But what Roman focuses on is survival stuff. And as a wuss, I am a little concerned if things were to maybe, I don't know, collapse in some way, zombie apocalypse, financial crisis, I don't know, Kardashians take over. I want to know how to protect myself. And Roman is the go-to guy for that. So thanks, Roman, for being on the show and educating us, hopefully, about how to live through very scary situations.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to tell you guys, let you pick my mind for a little bit.
Okay, good. Is it so can you tell me a little bit about how you came to the States, and like your background and kind of how you got to be where you are? A little bio section, if you will.
Sure, sure. So originally I was born in Moscow, Russia. I left there when I was 6 years old. And part of the reason why my family left is, as you know, during the early 90s when I left, Russia was just not a great place to be. People were on food lines. I mean, it was like the shit was basically hitting the fan in that area of the world. Went to college over here, and about 3 years back, I started Ready to Go Survival. It's an e-commerce company specializing in emergency disaster preparedness. So, bug-out bags, gas masks, bulletproof vests. Essentially, have everything you need for a shit-is-a-fan situation. And the way we've been kind of able to differentiate ourselves from the other players in the field is we offer custom survival packages. So let's say you have a family of four and you're living somewhere in Los Angeles. You fill out a quick questionnaire. You let us know, how many people in your family, if you have any pets, any special health considerations, a few other pieces of information, and then based on this, we craft a custom survival package for you and your family based on your concerns and your specific situation. So that's kind of Ready to Go Survival in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's really great. I remember when SARS came out, or was it SARS, or one of these pandemics that everyone was raving about, and I was in Sydney, and just as I heard, oh my God, have you heard this? Some new thing. Someone messaged me, and it was spreading like crazy across the news. So it sort of felt like it was spreading like crazy in real life too, across Asia, and Australia being near, the Asian region. I was, I went straight out and grabbed myself like a whole trolley full of sugar, flour, cans. I just stocked up and then put it into my shed. And then, of course, 3 years later, I started having to throw stuff out. But it did make me feel a lot better. Watching the news happen, I felt like, okay, if, the crap hits the fan, I can, me and my girl can, stay at home for at least a month, and if not more, if we rationed, and that would allow us for things to blow over, and then we deal with whatever happens after that. But it was at least this sort of one step, and I've never been like a super prepper. I wasn't Scouts, so be prepared was like this thing. But being prepared, there's nothing wrong with it, and I think it puts your mind at ease when you think, well, something could happen. What's the biggest prep scenario that people tend to go for?
It's really mixed. Everybody who comes to us has their own special concerns and their own special needs. So, if you're living in LA, and we do have quite a few customers coming out of LA, their biggest concern is an earthquake. If an earthquake happens and it's early 1900s San Francisco style, where half the town is burning and people are stuck in rubble, like what do I need? It depends really on the region that you live in. Other people have other concerns. They think martial law is going to start because the economy is going to collapse. I mean, it's such a wide spectrum that I can't really nail it down on any one thing that kind of takes the prize.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a broad spectrum.
That's interesting. So do you see a seasonal change maybe in where people start to towards winter months start to get different things than in the summer months, or is it just generally the same?
Well, not as much as a seasonal change, but we do see clear changes in order volume based on what's going on in the world and what's going on in the news. Like, I'll tell you one thing, when the whole Ebola thing hit in late 2014, that was just a huge uptick. I mean, our sales went up thousands of percents within that month, because people are genuinely concerned, and instead of taking premeditative measures beforehand, people wait till the news anchor comes on and says, "Okay, you got Ebola in your town, and here's what you should do," and then people start running to the stores, as you said before, stripping the shelves clean, and that's just it's generally not a good position to be in. It's trying to prepare last minute when something actually happens. I mean, it's more effective if you just have the basic supplies.
Let me.
Tatiana, have you prepared yourself?
No, I have some questions. So if I leave some cups of water, like some jars of water, in my cabinet, how long will they last for?
Jars of water?
Yeah.
It depends on what containers they're in. Generally, if they're in plastic containers, it's a much shorter period of time. With plastic, they say no more than 2 years, I believe, last I checked. But it also depends on what kind of plastic, because as you know, different plastics, they degrade over different periods of time. Glass jars have been kind of the best way to store water if you just want to store in that type of way. But really, water is kind of, I mean, you could always boil it down and either distill it if it gets contaminated, or you could run it through a filter in case there's some kind of bacterial outbreak in it. So it's always good to have some water than no water at all.
Well, but
yeah.
I think that water, you can live a lot longer without food than you can without water. So.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And what if the water stops working? What if all of a sudden they stop it? I mean, I've got a Berkey filter, so I'm prepared. But I'm just saying, if they stop running the water, I mean, there's only so much in the toilet that I could drink.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things you can do. What I would recommend, if you hear like a big storm's coming, there's such thing called a bathtub bob, where it basically like lines your bathtub, so you could pour water in and just store water in your bathtub. So that would be enough for maybe a week or two. And beyond that, just having water stored in your backyard in some barrels, that's always a good idea if you have a backyard. There's other options if you live in areas that are kind of, like LA, it's usually pretty dry. They're in a big drought over there. And you live by the ocean, let's say, you could either distill the ocean water, or you could use a catadine converter, which converts salt water into fresh water.
I have a question about water conversions.
Sure.
I was debating about if I wanted to ask this question, but I do. If I'm really stuck, can I filter my own urine? Use the medical term.
You can drink your own urine unfiltered if you're really stuck.
Really? Why?
Yeah. I mean, Bear
That sounds like a horrible
Grylls
idea.
does it all the time. If you see him on a show, he does it like all the time. You can do it, but it's not recommended to do it more than once, because like the urine of urine becomes much more concentrated and like with toxins. But one
could I put
time
it
you
through
can
a
recycle.
filter?
It depends on the filter. So you have to look at kind of the basic chemical compounds in urine. I mean, I know there's ammonia in urine. There's other things. So it depends on what the filter can filter out. I mean, it's all dependent on what filter you use. A big Berkey, I don't think a big Berkey could filter out urine.
What? Why? That thing was like $280. I got the smallest one. It was so expensive.
Well, it's a ceramic filter, right?
pee?
A Berkey is a ceramic filter.
No, I have a stainless steel one, and it has
Stainless
a
steel.
ceramic the little tubes, I think, or something, but I don't know what they are.
Right.
I have one for
Being a-
fluoride and then the other one.
The filtration
Being an
element of
Aussie
ceramic.
boy, what we learnt out in the bush was to dig a hole, pee in it, put a cup in the middle, and then some plastic with a little pebble, so that there's something to weigh it down, so it condenses during the hot day and drips down into the mug that's sitting in the middle, and then you can drink the water.
Right. That's called a solar still. Actually, that's a very popular survival technique there. Yeah. If you're out there, and that's actually a really good way to harvest water.
So, do you think that okay, I have several questions. Number one, what are the most important things to do? Because I live in a studio apartment. Not right now, and that's not where I'm taping from. But anyway, my studio apartment is pretty small, and I have a lot of junk, borderline hoarding. So where am I going to store all my stuff? And if I'm on a budget, considering, spatial constraints as well as budgetary constraints, what do you think are, the main things that people need to have in the house in case things go bad?
Sure. So food, water, and a means for self-protection, just in case things get really bad, you should always keep in the house.
Like a gun or a knife?
Something like that, depending on your local laws, obviously. And
ninja skills?
Skills. I was going to say, you want some skills how to use these weapons, because that's the worst thing, is if you have one of these weapons at home and you don't know how to use it, you think you're all tough shit, and then you grab it and it gets taken off you very quickly.
Right. I agree 100%. Skills are definitely more important than anything else. Skills will save you more times than your gear will. And, if you have enough training, you could always lean back on your skills to kind of take you through any situation.
Like fighting skills.
Huh? Well,
like
fighting skills, hunting skills.
Where am I going to get fighting skills and hunting? Well, hunting skills, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be hunting in New Jersey. I guess I could. There's a lot of deer. Yeah, nunchucks.
And you got the Pine Barrens. You have the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. I'm sure you can go. You can go hunting there.
I think I need to go and take some shooting training classes, and I also need to, work on arming myself. But okay, so food. What kind of food though, right? Because I look at those bug out bags and they're like $200, $300. I'm like, I don't want to spend $200, $300. What can somebody do? Maybe I've heard it suggested that every time you go to the store, get a can of food, so this way it's not as much of a difficulty. I mean, people are on budgets even more than me.
Yeah, and once again, it's not all about gear. I mean, gear is nice to have, but really it's about skill. And you can definitely prep on a budget. As you suggested, when you go to the store, you're buying a whole bunch of cans. Just take one can that you're not going to use and put that in your prepper pantry, so to speak. And then over time, before you know it, you're going to have a big pantry full of food, and that's going to be enough to get you by.
Are canned goods the way to go? What about, beans and rice and stuff? Why not those instead of canned goods?
Well, beans and rice are also good. Canned goods just last a long time, and kind of you can get canned, chicken teriyaki, which definitely tastes better than just a big thing of beans. I don't know. But they have, there's also MREs, which last about 25 years. There's these dehydrated foods also, freeze-dried foods. That are like Wise Foods. They last a very long time, over 20 years. All you got to do is hot water. Add hot water, and you're good to go with a nice, nutritious meal.
Why were you so interested in this? Because of Russia?
No. So I mean, I was a Boy Scout as well, actually. So from like the 3rd grade to the 5th grade, be prepared. And beyond that, I was always interested in outdoor stuff, camping, shooting sports, just being out in the wild, outdoors with my friends. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I saw that there was a need that's not being filled. I didn't see anybody else creating custom survival packages for people, and I saw it was a real problem. When I first started prepping, it was really difficult to kind of find the gear that you need. There's a lot of testing that goes into it. There's a lot of research and reviews that you have to look through. Many times I've bought things that I no longer use. They just sit there in a pile because these items are not of quality, and it took experimentation to learn that these items weren't great. So what we do is we test all this stuff. We use this stuff. We know what works well together, and based on our experience, we craft these kits, and we save you time. We save you money. And that's basically the service in a nutshell. Hey, Tatiana, just 1 second. I have low battery setting. I have to plug in.
Okay, no worries.
Just give me 1 second, okay?
Yeah, it's
Josh, have
interesting
you ever
when.
had anything bad happen to you? Like where you were like, damn it, I should have prepared?
Well, no, I mean not well, kind of. I mean, in Australia we do have some bushfires fire through, especially down in South Australia where I'm from, and friends have lost horses and livestock, and I mean afterwards you generally rebuild and you have to just uh, deal with it, and society generally helps you out. It's when things bad happen, and you can see this post 9/11, when 9/11 happened on the day and afterwards, everyone in New York, usually who are really nasty to each other, were making cakes and helping each other out. So I think, a big part of let's just call it the zombie apocalypse or whatever, some sort of disaster, is that community generally is the key to success of survival, and because everyone is skilled in different areas, and so I think one of the most important parts of prepping would be to prep also trade and ability to trade, and I guess this is where silver coins have come in for a lot of people, but I tend to actually think that things like whiskey would be a better form
Hmm.
of currency because it's so divisible. Yeah, what do you think about that, Roman?
Sure. So community is very important. One thing we always advocate is to have a group of like-minded people which you can prepare with, perhaps with complementary skill sets, or somebody has a house upstate, somebody else is a doctor, somebody else has hunting shooting skills. Come together as a community. That's very, very important. It's going to be difficult in a real kind of grid down scenario to make it on your own. It's going to be groups of people who thrive.
Yep.
So I think you're absolutely right and spot on with that.
Yeah, and having that, the form of currency that, because especially when the crap hits the fan, things become very uh, they become worth a lot more. Things that used to be worth a little, like water, becomes worth, or petrol becomes worth a lot more. So um, I'm guessing, depending on, of course, where it happened. I mean, if you're living in a high rain area, then it's you're good. But these sort of essential services and also trade, because we live in a society right now where everything's last minute. We're living in a last minute society. So our supermarket is last minute stocked. As soon as it runs out of something, it's already on its way getting the new thing. But they don't want to overstock and then have something go stale. So we're used to living in a society where everything is sort of last minute, and so once things aren't last minute anymore, once you have to actually order specifics um, or order skill sets from people, you need that monetary exchange, because we do live in a society where we divide specialized labor into people, because people have interests in certain areas, and so you get the person that's interested in something to do it. And so you need that currency. What form of currency do you think would be best in a society that's totally broken down in terms of last minute stuff, like Walmart and stuff are just not restocking.
Bullets. I mean, that's true, actually.
Well, bullets,
Yeah.
definitely bullets. I mean, bullets are the ultimate kind of self-preserver. You can hunt with them, you can take down wild game, you can protect yourself with them, so I can definitely see bullets being one of those items. Food, just any kind of food. There will definitely be some kind of barter system set up where some farmer who lives in the outskirts has a few cows in his community, and kind of like the last episode of The Walking Dead, if you guys saw, where towns will begin to trade once again. I mean, but it all depends on how deep something like that goes. I mean, if it's going to be a complete grid down type of scenario, I really don't even. It's very difficult to even think about what could come from that. I mean, what would people be using as You know, what I really advocate preparing for is kind of common sense stuff, common sense precautions. Like, let's say, God forbid, you know, some kind of terrorist attack happens and you're living in a major city, like a 9/11 type of event. If you had something so simple on you during 9/11 as a way to cover your orifices with an N95 mask and a pair of goggles and a pair of earplugs, and also a way to signal just in case you get caught under some debris, I think we would have been much better off that day and we wouldn't have suffered so many casualties. So, you know, just small common sense precautions go a long way. You know, it's digging yourself a bunker and then living there for the rest of your life is definitely not the way to go.
Well, what would you suggest for people that are in urban areas? You know, people in New York and certain subsets, you know, it's really crowded. And by the way, I agree that, you know, making friends with your community is good, but I also think that people, when they get hungry, they will get desperate and they will try and kill you to feed their family. So that makes me a little nervous. All of this makes me a little nervous. So what do you do? Like, do you bunker down and not leave your house if something bad happens? Or, I mean, obviously there has to be some sort of flexibility on this plan, but as a general rule of thumb, is it better to go out into the wild, or is it better to wait at home until things clear up?
It's definitely better to wait at home till things clear up, because going out into the wild, you're going to create something called the golden horde, as you know, some survivalists call it, where a whole bunch of Joe Six-packs from the city are going to go upstate with their rifles looking for food all at the same time, and it's just going to create a calamity because there's still going to be a whole lot of people fighting for limited resources. So what I recommend to have if you live in a major city, once again, food and water stocked in your house at all times. Enough for a month for your family, I think, suffices. Unless, you know, you really want to plan long term, which is fine. You know, everybody has their own kind of levels of insurance that they want to get for themselves. And along with that, carrying an everyday carry kit, just something that you have on you at all times, just in case, God forbid, an unexpected event like 9/11 happens, or any other kind of terror threat. A really great device that we've been selling really well is called an Vac Escape Mass. So this is essentially, if you get stuck in a burning building, you can put it on, and it converts carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide and lets you breathe it out. If you breathe in carbon monoxide, you're basically going to, you know, suffocate and pass out very quickly. But that's a great thing. It's very small, compact. You can keep it on you at all times. And just in case you do get stuck in a building that is on fire or any other, you know, kind of terrorist attack happen there, you have a chance of surviving. Yeah.
I have a hard time bringing my cell phone and my keys. I don't know if I'm going to remember that. Basically, what we're learning so far is that I'm screwed in an emergency situation, and I need to find people that are more prepared. All right, continue. Do you have one of those masks with you handy or no?
I do. It's in my backpack over there, so I'd have to just like move over again.
Yeah, give us a demo of some of these.
You want a little demo? Okay, I'll give you a little demo.
All right, good, cool.
Yeah,
Josh, do you think that you would carry one of those masks around? I mean, I feel like maybe at one point I'm going to regret that, but right now I don't really see that happening.
Well, the thing is, I carry, you know, my laptop bag. It's a backpack, and on this backpack I have to show you. I've got like a little USB charger for my phone, but it's got a little solar panel on there. So I charge it once on the power pack, and then it just stays charged with the solar panel. So that's really handy. That's from a company called Testpack. Yeah, and so that's really cool. And yeah, I was actually looking for one of those for ages, and then I was at some conference, and the little startup that was making those had a little booth, so I was lucky. But yeah, I mean, you know, survival it's one of these interesting things that you think, yeah, I could survive, I could do it. You know, you watch these survivalist shows like Bear Grylls or whatever, and you think, yeah, I could do that. And I saw there was a YouTube channel, I forgot what it was called, but maybe someone can find it, one of our viewers. Basically, a mate challenged his mate who said, yeah, I could survive. Basically, he said, okay, well, I'll give you $100 per day that you can survive, and you can take a flint, a piece of rope, and, you know, some clothes, and then gave him like a camera with like 50 batteries, and said, go on, and go and film everything. And it was great series to watch because this guy had no idea. He basically starved to death. There was food
Wait, he
everywhere.
died?
No, he didn't. He managed to
Oh.
walk back and find his way back. But if there wasn't any society around him, he said, like, if I had to last any more, I would have just died of starvation, basically, because he was so happy that he caught some busy little thing that he could like nibble away at. And he was like, yes, I'm so hungry. And I was thinking, you poor bugger. Look at you nibbling away on your little tiny insect.
Wait, it was a bug?
I don't know what he caught, but it was so small. I remember thinking, what are you gonna do with that, mate?
When you're starving, any little thing looks like a gourmet meal.
All of a sudden, those roaches in the apartment are appealing. They start looking like a good little snack.
You start calling the roaches lobster.
How long would it take you guys to start eating roaches?
Well, for me, a while because I'm prepped and I've got food, so I won't have to eat these roaches. For you, probably like 3 days. I can imagine you have like 3 days worth of food in your fridge at any given moment.
I wonder if anybody
make a perfect TV commercial.
I think if you're starving, I don't know if every starving person faced with the option of starving to death or eating a roach will always opt for the roach. I'd be curious to see.
That would be a good research study, but I think they would opt for the roach. I mean, self-preservation kicks in. You're sitting there, you're miserable, you're going to be hungry. I mean,
I'm very, very happy I don't have to make these.
People opt for the roach on those awful TV shows, where they.
Yeah, but they're getting $1 million. I guess it's more valuable. Like living is more valuable than $1 million, though. I guess.
Yeah.
All right, Roman, show us some survival gear.
All right, cool. So let me show you what's in my personal everyday carry kit. So this is the Vac Escape Mass.
You carry this around?
Yeah, this I have in my backpack. It's a small thing. I mean, I have my laptop in my backpack. I've got a few other items, and then I have an Vac Escape hood, which is really compact. It looks much bigger than it really is. And once again, it converts carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide. So God forbid you get stuck in a burning building, you can make it out alive. Really important thing. Along with that, I do commute via subway to the city every morning. So you get stuck on a train, and then there's a subway fire of some sort going on. I mean, you're underground. That smoke has nowhere to go. So you're going to be sitting in it for a long time. And I mean, what can you really do at that point? No amount of survival skills is really going to save you as much as having some kind of respirator to breathe through. And this is our everyday carry kit right here. I also carry this every day in my backpack. As you can see, it's a little dusted up because it's always on me. And this has kind of your basic items. It has a way to communicate. Well, this right here is a crank radio. So you can listen in to updates. So let's say there's an attack happening. You can listen in and see if there's anything else going on at that time. If communications are down, you can also use it to charge your cell phone, and it's a flashlight built in all in one.
That's great. What bandwidth is that? The shortwave bandwidth?
No, it's just AM, FM, both.
Okay.
Yeah. Along with that, you have a way to cover your orifices I mentioned before. So you have N95 masks in the back over here. You have some earplugs along with a face shield, so you don't get your eyes injured. We have a whistle as well. So this, if you get caught under some debris, you can whistle your way out. Somebody can come find you. And this thing is extremely loud, so it works very, very well. We have this. And
you can also referee a good soccer game if you need.
You could, just in case the crap doesn't hit the fan and you end up at a soccer game. Definitely, it's a very good alternative.
Yeah, you can
this is a great item, Celox Gauze. So this is combat gauze. So this is if you get shot or you have some kind of penetrating kind of flesh wound. This you actually stuff it up and it stops the bleeding and gives you enough time to get to emergency services to get patched up and not bleed out. So another very, very good thing.
Wow, you're a good friend to have.
And then you have a pocket knife. Real simple. I mean, this one also has a way to cut yourself out of a seatbelt. It's got a little seatbelt cutter. It's got a glass breaker on this end. So, once again, if we're using the subway scenario and it flips over or something, you need to get out quickly. You can bust your way out with this. Regular flip knife works really well.
But wait, does it have a beer opener?
Uh, yeah, I'm sure you could finagle your way to open a beer with this thing. I mean,
What
it doesn't
about a
take
can
much effort.
opener? I can't even open a can at home. It was like pathetic. There's some advanced can opener at my mom's, and I couldn't open a can. So does it have a can opener? Because that could be a problem. Imagine having all those cans of food and not having ability to get it.
Well, you could definitely open a can with just a simple knife. You don't need like a special can opener for that. And
How do you do that?
if it is
You
about
just stab it?
survival, well, you stab it and then you just kind of go down the rim and just cut through the metal. I mean, the cans aren't made out of titanium. I mean, they're made
Oh
out
man,
of
I'm
cheap
screwed.
aluminum. You know.
This is really disturbing. All right, continue.
Yeah, cans are
I mean, a can
fairly
opener would be
easy to
good
open.
though, because you don't want to blunt your knives.
And there's also ways to open cans without actually using a can opener or a knife.
Which
all
are?
all you need is a brick or the sidewalk, and you can just rub it against the concrete for an extended period of time until you rub down the metal and it'll open itself. Might be a little
okay.
messy for a few seconds, but you flip it right over and you got good food.
Oh wow!
You
Tip
know
of the
what
day
I've
there,
seen
folks.
is I've seen Polish people use a shoe in order to open wine, and I thought that was pretty impressive. I have not mastered this skill at all, but I always thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I've
How
seen
does
that
that
too.
work?
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you know
Is
how to
that
do
really
that?
tiny feet or what?
No.
You haven't seen that, Josh?
No.
It's you just take a wine bottle, you stick it in a boot, and then you bang it against the wall. Just make sure that the wine bottle doesn't go flying out and break it on the floor. You just bang it against the wall, and the pressure from the liquids inside of the bottle keep pushing up against the cork and open the cork.
I never saw it with the
Wow.
boot method. I saw somebody just slamming the bottom of it with the heel of a shoe. Not a woman's shoe like a man's shoe, but one with like a chunky heel, you know? And just
So I
You
guess
learn something new every
doesn't
day.
work with stilettos, I guess, right?
yeah. I love how I'm tying all of this to alcohol. That being said, I'm pretty sure that people will want to drink if there's shit hitting the fan, so to speak.
Folks, by the way, if you want to see all this amazing stuff that Roman's showing, get get on the YouTube channel, Tatiana Rose or Liberty.me, and check out the YouTube video. Also subscribe. It's really important to subscribe because we have a lot of really cool comments, really nice, and we sometimes mention them on the show. So subscribe.
Okay, so what else is in the bag?
All right, so we also have an emergency blanket. So this is to prevent shock. If once you've experienced a traumatic situation, your body goes into shock, you start losing a lot of heat, you wrap yourself up with this blanket, and it prevents heat loss.
Oh, really? I thought that was just for comfort when I saw that in the movies. I didn't know that it actually served a purpose.
Right.
You have a blanket, like cozy, but it's
Small
actually...
first aid kits and Band-Aids, so just in case you get cut, you could kind of bandage yourself up, clear out your wounds so they don't get infected. We have a few water packets as well. These are, you could use one for drinking, but really just to flush out your eyes in case you get some debris in it. We have zip ties as well, so just in case you come across an unruly person who's, not cooperating. These work really well as handcuffs, and zip ties have like a million different uses. There's articles out there that show you like a billion ways to use zip ties. I'm sure I can name some other things as well. But
Yeah, they're kind of they're the cousin of duct tape, aren't they? They're just useful.
they are. That and along with a bandana. So this is another very useful thing. You can actually wet a bandana and put it over your mouth so that dust and debris does not fly through, and that's another good way to kind of prevent yourself from getting respiratory injury. So this is for like if something's happening, you have your N95 mask, but let's say you run out, you have another person with you in the office, you can give them a wet bandana, and that would be better than absolutely nothing.
So make sure that you're nice to Roman in the office, and maybe he'll save you too.
Yeah, exactly. So
we
we have. What's up?
After 9/11, when the buildings collapsed, we saw a lot of people with just wet. Sometimes German just comes into my head. Handtuchs, wet handkerchiefs over their mouth, and so that's when we had that plastic flow of what do they call it? Cataplastic. I don't know. All the dust from the building that collapsed. And it was really toxic. We still have firefighters dying from it nowadays. Bloomberg said
There's actually over 21,000 people on the World Trade Organization health program that they've created that are suffering from respiratory damages because of that day. I mean, a lot of people know, oh yeah, 3,500 people died on 9/11, but not many people know of all the people suffering, after the fact. Just because they did get this respiratory damage. These buildings are old, they've got asbestos in it, other chemicals that, dust and debris. So really just having a 50-cent tiny little N95 mask would avoid you a lot of complications in the future. So that's why I'm such a big advocate about having something every day carry that you can carry on you and protect you from situations like that.
Nice.
So that's pretty much it in here. We also have duct tape, actually. You mentioned duct tape, so.
Oh, there you go. It's always useful.
That's a lot of stuff in one of those bags. How much are those bags going for?
So without the radio, it's $80-something, $85, I believe. With the radio, it's $120.
Okay.
So
Cool.
I mean, the thing was, I really felt so much better when I had a little bit of preparation, and I think that $80, it's really, where you think, oh, what's the use? But it's as similar as buying insurance, really, isn't it? I mean, insurance, you sort of, it's a little bit different because you're pulling the money from a lot of people for the unfortunate few. Mm-hmm. But here you can literally have some sort of insurance just to at least make yourself feel like, okay, I've got that minimum preparedness. Would you say that backpack is kind of like the minimum preparedness that people should have?
Well, I hear a lot the way our customers describe our product as right now insurance, because insurance is only good after the fact. If you needed something right now, are you insured for this very moment?
That's a good point.
So instead of life insurance, we sell life assurance. Just to play on words, right?
Nice. That's a tagline right there.
Right. But we do kind of have it on our timeline to start talking to insurance companies and partnering up, because really, I think that preppers, anybody who is prepared, should get a lower insurance premium on their life insurance and other stuff, because their likelihood of kind of death is lower than that of a person who's unprepared. Insurance companies should really take note of that. Do insurance
companies take that sort of info into consideration,
They don't. But that's what I'm advocating for. That's
I think they should, absolutely.
I think that makes sense. Is there what do you think about people actually believing that this is going to happen, right? I've brought over, at one point I did go out and buy a bunch of stuff, and I brought over all these water bottles to my mom, and she was like, leave me alone. Why are you crowding my house with this annoying stuff? And she just started drinking them. I'm like, stop drinking those. Those are for an emergency. So, yeah, I mean, how likely do you think this is going to happen? How do you overcome resistant family members? Do you just kind of ignore them and just stuff stuff in a closet, and if they complain, then just ignore that too? Or do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Sure. So, overcoming resistant family members kind of has been a difficult thing for many people that I know, including myself. I mean, my wife at first, when I started getting into the whole prepping thing, she was like, what are you doing? Why are you spending all this money on all this survival gear and stuff? And, you just have to sit down and clearly explain to them that, just as we have insurance in our car if anything happens, why don't we have insurance for ourselves if something were to happen right now? And along with that, I think that as time goes on and, people watch the news, you see what's going on in the world. I mean, people could open up their eyes and just see what's going on, and just knowing kind of all the crazy stuff that's happening everywhere. I mean, here kind of in New York, around the States, we're a little sheltered to these things that are going on all over the world. Like in Syria, all these Syrian people, I mean, they're really kind of suffering right now. And if anybody needs a bug-out bag, it's them, because they're traveling kind of across the world to try to get out of there and save themselves. So, thank God that that's not happening here at this time, but who's to say that it can't happen here? It can happen anywhere.
Yeah, I read a story about a guy from Aleppo who had some preparedness, Aleppo in Syria, and it was kind of interesting. He was using soap to trade with, because Aleppo is really known for its soap. and yeah, so he had a bunch of these bars and would trade with them and have these basics in a backpack, and that's how he managed to cross over and get slowly get out of the country and get out of harm's way, him and his family. So it was interesting. Yeah, I think preparedness. It's one of these things, coming back to your point, Tatiana, where family, you do have this resistance, especially when people start really questioning your sanity, and then it's funny because they'll turn on the news and there's this disconnect where you think, well, everything's peaceful here, and everything's fine. But I think preparedness isn't just for war or some of these extremes. It's also, like Roman said at the start, if there's a big earthquake or a natural disaster, and it happens. We saw that huge tsunami. I think it was 2012. Wipe out most of Asia. the coastal regions just wipe out so many people, and really the aftermath was what killed most people because they just weren't prepared.
Right. Yeah, that was a horrible thing. But for New Yorkers, I think a lot of them are waking up because of Hurricane Sandy. Hurricane Sandy was something real that happened right here, and people were expecting, oh, it's just going to be another Hurricane Irene, no big deal. It's just another one of these hurricanes. But a lot of houses got completely wiped out. I mean, the whole Jersey Shore. I mean, billions and billions of dollars in damage. And the aftermath was, sewage systems not working, plumbing's not working, basic services aren't working.
Well,
what do you do?
I also think that people are very kind of thinking that, and hopefully they've learned their lesson, oh, the government will help. And I think that it's not really such a good idea to necessarily depend on public services to be kind of able to handle this stuff on your own. I'm going to go out and get some canned food now. Damn it.
Right, the government's not always there to come and help out, unfortunately. If something were to happen, which is just a massive scale, there's so many people they have to attend to. I mean, there's no reason why we should expect, for the government to really be there for us when the shit hits the fan, so to speak. That's. Go ahead.
Sorry. No,
okay.
Sorry, Roman.
No problem. So that's it's all about self-sufficiency.
Do you sell food?
We do. We do sell food.
What do you think if somebody has to get the bare minimum of food? What kind of food should they get?
I would get a 60-serving bucket of Wise food. Just it's dehydrated food. All you got to do is add hot water. It lasts 25 years. 60 servings you can get for around $100, and I don't know. That's kind of like the best bang for your buck.
Okay, that's good.
What's that made of? What is that?
They take regular food. I mean, such as some chicken teriyaki, and they completely dehydrate it. Take all the water out of it. Add a whole bunch of there are preservatives obviously in it. A lot of salt. And that's another aspect of preparedness planning with food. Is a lot of these foods are very high in salt concentration, so you're going to need a lot of water to back it up. Because as you eat more salt, you also need higher water intake. And you also have to supplement it with some kind of fresh greens, because surviving just on these salty, preservative-like foods for an extended period of time isn't really going to do the trick.
Yeah, I remember in Sydney there was students who couldn't, I don't know, they said they couldn't afford to eat, but you know what, there's fruit trees everywhere, folks. Anyway, they made this bet where they ate 2-minute noodles, which are these dried noodles,
ramen noodles.
Yeah. And I think he lasted for, I don't know, it was like 6 months or something. Anyway, he was the first case of scurvy in Australia since, I don't know, since the English came and invaded the Aboriginal. It was a long time since they've seen scurvy, and this guy came into the hospital, and they're all thinking, "What is this strange thing?" He's like, "Yeah, I've been living on 2-minute noodles for 6 months." So yeah, you're right. Greens is super important. Fresh produce, And that's again where this trade, this thing of trade during survival times comes in. And you know, I think people underestimate how actually good people are during catastrophes to each other. You know, a lot of the time you hear that, oh my God, everyone's going to go psycho and stuff. But you know, we saw it after 9/11. People were making cupcakes and going out and feeding people. People were, you know, helping each other. We saw it. We see it actually quite a lot in Australia when there's huge floods and bushfires and things. Whole communities will come together. Farmers will fly and help other farmers out. People will grab shovels. They'll start digging trenches, and they'll do it all in an anarchic state. There will be no leader because usually it's just too panicky. The state can't do anything, and people tend to help each other out. And you know, so I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Yeah, of course, there's going to be people that are very desperate and will rob you for your produce or whatever, of course. But I don't think that's the only thing. I think there's a lot of people that will help each other out, especially if they've got surplus and they want to trade for that surplus. So, yeah. What do you think of that?
I agree. I agree. I mean, just another kind of example from Hurricane Sandy. I remember when it happened, there were stores all around the neighborhood where I live in Brooklyn that were just giving out stuff for free because they know it's going to go bad anyway. They're not trying to make a buck on you. It's like, here, take this chicken, take this ice cream, whatever you need at this time. And I did see kind of the community coming together to help each other, you know, pump the water out of their houses and, you know, do all these kind of repairs that were needed. So I can definitely see that that happening in kind of an emergency situation. But once again, it depends on how bad things get. I mean, if it's like a complete grid down scenario and there's no food coming in, unfortunately you might see kind of the worst aspects of human nature starting to surface. If it's something more localized, you know, something like a Hurricane Sandy where it just hit one shore, and you know, after that the normal supply chain starts bringing all these essentials back in, then people are going to be much more willing to help.
For our European listeners or Asian listeners, you know, we're a worldwide broadcast, of course. You know, what would you say? Do you deliver outside of the States? And if you don't, is there something you recommend?
Sure. So it depends on what. Certain items are not allowed to be exported outside of the United States because of ITAR regulations. So if somebody, you know, in Europe wanted to order kind of a bulletproof vest of some sort, we couldn't kind of send that out. Gas masks are also a regulated item. But basic items like survival kits with, like, let's say a knife or something. I mean, I know UK, they have knife laws, so UK no knives, right? But most other places, yeah, we kind of ship worldwide.
Okay. Tatiana, what have you done to prepare? Give us there must be something. Have you got any of that water left?
Oh, I've got one of those. I do have some of the water left. I have one of those cranky solar panel phone chargers. So I can start texting my friends. I mean, let's face it. It's very important.
Tatiana, when did you actually start prepping? When was your kind of first...
Ron Paul stuff during the Ron Paul movement, because I was hanging out with all these Ron Paulers. Oh, and then I got this really big book of what to do if everything goes wrong. And I don't know. I'm thinking I'm going to angle on this, and I'm going to get a dude. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lean on some hot guy. You know, and those standards might come down a little bit, because otherwise I mean, I think it would be good to learn how to do a lot of this stuff, but I never went to Girl Scouts. I don't know how to do a lot of things, so now I'm feeling a little nervous. I'm thinking gun, some cans of food. I've got the Berkey filter.
Berkey filter is good. I mean, once again, I think one of the most important things is an everyday carry. Having something on you at all times, just in case something happens. Because that's really when the emergency comes in. I mean, it's very unlikely that a scenario happens where tomorrow it's grid down and everybody's suffering and going crazy and going nuts. Usually these things happen, you know, unexpectedly and in very small kind of localized instances, like a fire in a building or a car crash where you need a way to kind of cut yourself out of your seatbelt, or you're stuck in a snowstorm and you need a small shovel or a small car kit, or you get a flat and you need a way to patch your tire very quickly because you're stuck in the middle of nowhere. It's really things like that that people should be concerned about, because those are much more likely as opposed to the zombie apocalypse or complete meltdown of America. So we always advocate just really common sense precautions.
I think I could get one of those bags and carry it around in my car, but I'm telling you right now, listen, I lose things. I was at PorcFest one year, and everybody decided that I should make a new album, and it's going to be called "Where Is My Question Mark?" And every song would be a different thing that I would lose because I'm really, really bad at like remembering to take things. So yeah, but I think maybe if I keep it in the car. Oh, my stepmom, she bought me one of those car window smashers in case I get caught in my car that I keep in my trunk.
Yeah,
She should probably take out of my trunk because it's not going to help me. And as I take my dying breath, I'm like, I should have listened to Roman.
Well, I mean, if you keep everything in a pack, it's all contained within a pack. It's not scattered all over the place. When it's scattered, then you have a problem. I mean, if you just have survival gear randomly stashed in every pocket of your car, that's how things get lost. But if you just keep everything in your trunk, in a small pack with all the items you need, and only open it in case of emergency, and then also look through it, once every couple of months to make sure everything is updated and that foods haven't expired or whatever you're keeping in there is still good, then that's kind of the easiest way. Survival, prepping kind of takes a little bit of organizational skills. It really does.
Oh, great. That should be easy for me. What about nuts? Nuts are good, right? They've got a lot of stuff in them, fat and protein.
Yeah, nuts are great. I mean,
quickly?
Peanut butter is one of the best survival foods you can get, and it lasts quite a while. I mean, not as long as some of these dehydrated foods, but peanut butter is a really great way to go. It's,
okay.
I actually saw a chef. I saw a special about a chef who was basically really trying to find the oldest food he can, like old cans from 1920 and old sugar and flour, and saying, look, I know that due by date was 12 years ago, but I'm going to try. I know that this will be safe, and I'm going to cook it up. And he basically cooked this meal, this gourmet in brackets meal, and then gave it to these food critics, and they said it was tasted a little bit strange, but they were still pretty happy. So I think people will be surprised what they can knock up from finding things, and that some due date things are just a little bit over the top.
I feel like I wouldn't be that worried about if something tastes good, although I suppose I should be. When I think of starving to death, I think like, oh great, I could lose a little bit of weight and fit into my high school jeans. Like this is the mentality that I come up with. I'm like, a little starvation wouldn't hurt. I mean, I could use it as a really good time to really buckle down on that diet. So I don't know. I don't know if this is. I think I'm all messed up in my approach.
I think your priorities
research actually shows in times of starvation, your body actually tends to store more fat because it's in starvation mode and it does not want to give up any energy. It doesn't want to burn anything. Your metabolism greatly slows. The next time you start eating, your body just stores every little bit.
There's no way to win in this situation. Forget it. I'm moving somewhere where there's just plentiful fruits and vegetables, and I'm leaving all this behind. Hey, wait, I have a question for you guys. So if things get really crazy in America, for a variety of reasons, I believe like politically that things could get a little scary. But what is your go-to escape country to achieve freedom and safety? Do you guys have one?
I don't have a go-to country, but I do have a bug-out location, which is undisclosed.
I'm gonna call you guys.
Where I do have a place to go, just in case something happens, and that's something I recommend everybody have. If you can't afford kind of a piece of land and a cabin kind of up in the woods somewhere, far away from it all, which many people can, I understand. There's friends and family and other ways to network with people that have complementary skill sets. Once again, if you have a certain skill set which can bring a value to another prepper living somewhere, upstate in some mountain valley with a fresh water access really close by, you guys can network and create your own kind of bug out plan together.
I don't think anybody's going to help me out. All I'm going to bring is like a guitar.
We need entertainers when the end of the
When
world
it's
comes.
sad, I'll just be singing people like as they pass into death. I mean, geez Louise.
Well,
This is morbid.
You'd be surprised at how important morale is during those types of situations.
And that's why you need more than just peanut butter and beans.
Right. And you need a musician, right?
Right. No, I always think they're like, oh, you should have a little bit of chocolate. I'm like, I don't want chocolate. But then I think about it. I'm like, I want chocolate every day. Of course I'm going to want chocolate if things hit the fan.
Comfort items are nice. I mean,
go
ahead.
I was just going to just ask about the most prepped person you've met.
Oh, good question. I like that.
The most prepped person I've met. It was, I forget the guy's name, but for a while we were talking to a guy who heads up a survival school who was also on the show Doomsday Preppers.
Oh, yeah.
And, he's got a huge plot of land, he's got a house stocked full of stuff, and beyond that, he's got his whole property set up in tunnels with these, like, foxholes so that he could always be, like, in one place and another at the same time. It's
popping up.
It's really elaborative. Yeah, it's like a kind of like a groundhog kind of gopher.
Is he single?
I'm not sure, but I could definitely, send out an intro email and you could.
I mean, not yet. I'm just saying if
strike anything up there.
Like, depending on how things turn out in this country, like we could just keep that on the back burner in case things start getting a little hairy. Give me that guy's number.
I don't know. I mean, when something really happens, I think that guy's going to be the man of the hour. And many ladies, you're going to have a lot of competition, Tatiana. Even though I think he'll choose you, you're going to have lots of competition because.
Can they play the guitar?
So what have you learned here, folks?
No, I don't think so.
The evil genius will, really prep himself, and then cause some catastrophe to score all the chicks. Is that?
Maybe.
Is that what we're learning here?
That could happen.
That's a possibility.
Well, don't give that other guy any ideas.
So there is people that really go to town, and I have seen that show, Doomsday Preppers. Amazing, the lengths that people go to, and all power to them. I think it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to see the different scenarios on that show. So some people prep for some fear that they have and sometimes totally irrational, and then sometimes absolutely rational. And I think that's again where it stems across to that thing that Tatiana was talking about before of introducing loved ones to the concept of prepping, is that these not really like irrational people who are prepping for, like, I don't know, alien invasion or something, or whatever. And maybe that's not irrational. I don't know, but I'm just I'm not judging them. But and then there's survivalists that really look around their surroundings and think, well, we could have a cloud of radiation coming across from Japan, so I want to get some more iron or whatever to protect myself from that. Is that what's the craziest prepper scenario that you've heard, and what's the most sort of normal? Can you say?
That's a good question.
Not that you want to call people crazy if you're customers, but
right. Well, the most normal thing is, once again, just everyday type of stuff. If an earthquake happens, if another hurricane happens, that's a very common thread I'm seeing with most of the people who are coming to us. They're concerned with these very plausible things which have happened and will happen time and time again.
Yeah.
As far as craziest, I'm kind of afraid to say, honestly, because what's craziness is kind of a relative thing. I mean,
absolutely.
Perhaps you're a few articles away from having a crazy idea of, like, you read a new piece of information which is affirmed, and it's like, all right, I believe this is going to happen, and somebody else could call you crazy for thinking that, but meanwhile, in your mind, it's like, but what do you mean? I'm reading, government documents and stuff, and like declassified stuff. So it's It's all
Yeah, no,
around.
you're right. I mean, I get called crazy all the time for starting a Bitcoin gold exchange. So, it's
Right. I
what
mean,
would you need that for? Who accepts Bitcoin? Slowly
right.
happening.
But one interesting trend I'm seeing, a few months back, I actually met up with the CEO of Meetup.com.
Oh,
And
great.
we were just talking and stuff. I know him through like an entrepreneurship network that I'm part of, and he was telling me that a lot of meetups are popping up around this prepper thing, and he's seen like an exponential rise in prepper meetups. I mean, we have them in New York, we have them all over the country, and they're also popping up in other places of the world as well. So, the genre in general is definitely growing. People are taking action. They're meeting up locally. They're trying to be more proactive about it. And beyond
So,
that, I mean, if you look at the media, if you look at the shows that were presented, basically every popular show is like a prepper in the making. It's like The Walking Dead. After watching,
yeah.
3 seasons of that, you're like, maybe I should get a few items just in case, a pandemic happens of some sort. Survival Alaska, all these other survival-related shows on History Channel, Discovery Channel. We're really
Yeah.
saturated, kind of, with the
We
messages.
even had Bear
that we should
Grylls
prep.
on Obama on Bear Grylls.
Oh, I did see that. Right.
This
But
propaganda piece. It was awful to watch. It was so cringeworthy, but anyway.
Every piece is a propaganda piece. I was just watching, what do you call it? What's that stupid show? It's not a stupid show. House of Cards. It's a good show, but they already use that as an opportunity to be anti-gun, and I don't want to piss off all the anti-gun people, but when you think about prepping and you think about being faced with a potentially dangerous situation, you want to be able to protect yourself. Guys, I hate to do this, but we're going to have to wrap up the show. We're coming up on the hour. But Roman, you can be found where online? How can people get their own survival packets?
sure. So check out readytogosurvival.com.
Okay.
That's our website. We have everything on there. You could also check us out on Twitter, Ready to Go Survival. It's at Ready to Go Squad. Sorry, I'm not the one who handles the Twitter account. And my personal Twitter, at Roman Empire Z. So that's how you can reach me.
All right, cool. Do you ever do classes training people on any of this stuff? I think that would be really fun.
Not yet, but we do have that on our timeline as something we want to tackle in the near future.
All right, very cool. Well, maybe me and Josh will join you. I'll try and be prepared.
Yeah.
You're more than
We
welcome,
just have to
guys.
bring Josh over from Europe. That's the only problem. And Josh, where can people find you?
Well, folks, get over to Vaultoro.com. That's Vault, like bank vault, and Oro, as in Spanish in gold. Vaultoro.com, and you can trade Bitcoin for gold really quickly and gold for Bitcoin. So
Hey,
you can jump in and out of an allocated asset, which is really cool.
I just saw something. We need a magic word because we're broadcast on a whole bunch of different stations. And I don't know, Let's Talk Bitcoin has one, like a magic word or a magic phrase. Do you have one, Roman? I like to let guests choose them.
So a magic phrase for what? I'm not completely understanding.
It's just like a magic word. It's a way of verifying users, or listeners rather, for our Let's Talk
So that
Bitcoin
it
audience.
proves that they listen to the show.
Oh, so like let's say they reach out to us, they say a magic word, and I know that they watch the show.
Internally, yeah, exactly. It's because they get paid with LT Bitcoin.
I see. Okay, magic word. Preps.
Preps? Preps.
Preps.
Okay, great.
Keep it
Yeah.
simple.
Very good. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yourselves, folks.
Okay, awesome. So everybody, thank you very much for listening. Thanks for checking in, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Roman, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. Definitely.
Definitely.
Had a lot of fun on here.
Good, me too. Now I know I can only drink my urine once. Remember that, folks. I feel like that was literally the most important takeaway. All right. See y'all later. Thanks.
All right,
Bye.
guys. Take care. Bye-bye.